This is a special one. I've got my new Tamiya sweatshirt on. We're just gonna sit here in the shop, chill, and talk about this new release, the Blockhead Motors Edition Hot Shot 2. And I know Tamiya fans are gonna be really excited about this one. I mean, people went over the top when they released the Blockhead Motors Edition Wild one, and this one is just as awesome, guys. I absolutely had a great time building it. Comes with a pre-painted body, some new graphics, some new number panels, new cage, lots of stuff to go over. Let's dive into it. So the Hot Shot 2 came out in about 1987, the predecessor to the Hot Shot. Then they had a Super Hot Shot after that, I believe, which had dual shocks in the front. But my memories are with the Hot Shot 2. There was this kid, Billy, that raced at our track, and he had a Fox and a Hot Shot, and he just beat everybody with these cars. And I always wanted one because that's what he was winning with. So I'm really stoked to have a special version of that here in the workshop to share with you guys. And we'll start off with the body on it. Again, this is a collaboration with Blockhead Motors, and they have the vibrant blue paint scheme on it. It comes from the factory like this. It's also pre-cut out. There are a few dimples that you'll have to drill out for the number plates and the lights, the pod lights. I guess they leave that out just in case you don't want to put these on. But the decals come on a single sheet. You will have to cut those out. But it is nice that the body and wing are pre-painted, pre-cut, and actually the number plates are pre-cut as well. Those are just clear Lexan pieces, and same with the number plate on the rear. Another change to the outside is actually the roll cage. So they raised it up. It gives the driver some more room, looks a bit more scale, still have the metal roof plate on top, and then they've added this extension piece here to fill in the gap. But it's got that Blockhead Motors look. I love the turtle. It's just simple, racing-like. It's just so cool. It really brings back some great memories of old school racing. Now the Hot Shot 2 chassis is pretty much the same otherwise. It's a four-wheel drive platform. We've got double wishbone suspension. It is the Tamiya plastics throughout, but there's just a lot of really cool stuff to look at on this Tamiya model. Love the large front bumper. I mean, spans past the front wheels for protection. Knobby spike tires on the front and rear. The fronts are narrower, and then they're mounted to these semi-chrome wheels. A lot of semi-chrome parts on here. So if you remember the Hot Shot 2, it had a lot of red features, and a lot of those red features are now this semi-chrome. So you can see the steering knuckles here are now a semi-chrome coated. Same with the rear hubs, the Servo saver, the front sway bar bracket are all now chrome, and they work with the body shell setup. The little deflector plate here is actually painted silver from the factory as well, and same with the rear cover plate. But back to the suspension now. The CVA2 oil-filled shocks are in the front and in the rear. So you got the mono shock up front, really bouncy. Again, just kind of brings you back to the old days of watching these Tamiya cars bounce around. Same with the rear. We just got the light Tamiya oil in the kit. The driveline, pretty much the same as well. We've got a mix of bearings and bushings in this. The differentials are gear differentials with the metal gears inside the diffs, and then the plastic drive gears, dog bone style propeller shaft in the center. And then to power this thing, they have a Silver Can 540 motor, but it carries a Blockhead Motors label on it. All of the electronics are mounted in the center. You're gonna have to supply a radio, a servo, battery pack, but it does come with a Hobbywing 1060 speed controller, which is 2 to 3S capable. The battery slides in through the side. There's a body clip that you pull out, swing over this Nerf bar, and you can slide the battery pack in. The dog bones front and rear are metal shafts out to the wheels. They do have the triangle style adapter with the pins that go into the wheel holes to lock everything in place. There's a sway bar mounted up front. I like how they use these FRP plates to support that bar, and it's a really neat setup. On the bottom of the chassis, you can see there's a lot going on. We've got a rear skid. There's that center section that actually drops out with all the electronics in it, and it's a fun kit to build. There isn't any areas where I could give you any tips. The instruction manual flows really well. Just have some paints on hand for the driver. Now, the final two details I want to show you, it does come with the metal whip antenna, and then out back, I like how they have the heatsink cover from the old days when we used to have a resistor back there. I like that they still included that in the kit. It's another awesome release. It looks so cool sitting next to the Wild one. Now let's take this outside and tear up some dirt. Yep, you guessed it. I'm gonna hit the BMX track with the Hot Shot 2, but first up, I want to see how fast it goes. Let's see what it's got. Read 15 miles an hour. I didn't get the Blockhead Motors Hot Shot in to be a shelf queen. I got it here on the channel so I could experience it and share that experience with you. And as you saw at the BMX track, I was not easy on this buggy. I drove it pretty hard. It endured some pretty hard crashes, and overall I had a lot of fun with it. Brought back a lot of memories of seeing these cars run back in the 80s. And some of the memorable parts are the shocks. I mean, you see the shocks working, the car is a little bit bouncy and a little bit unpredictable. There was a bunch of jumps where it just bucked up the rear. I thought I had my approach set and it just went a different direction. And that's kind of what I remember back in the days of seeing some of these cars on the racetrack, kind of darting around. The other thing was the steering. It chatters a little bit because that servo saver is soft. Back in the 80s, we didn't have strong servos, so you had a soft servo saver, so it wouldn't blow up the servo, but you would see the wheels chatter, and that was part of the fun. I think it's got some pretty decent power with a 7.4 volt battery. Was able to get a little bit of air off the jumps. With all the rough driving, I didn't break anything, but I did bend the metal antenna and tore the little flag off the top, but everything else held up in the cold weather. It's definitely a great looking buggy. I kind of like the simplicity of the Blockhead Motors design, very race-like as I mentioned earlier, and it just looks like a great car. I mean, it's definitely a great collector's car in my opinion. It's gonna look really good next to the Wild One, and any true Tamiya enthusiast is going to love the build. I'll have links in the video description below.